15 years plus.
15 years plus, that's right.
And you guys you've got your own studio designated for this. You've got studio lighting, cameras, official gear that you take with you when you go to your different shows that we've seen. That's how you and I met.
That's right.
So what have been some of your biggest hurdles in getting gospel music today to where it is today?
Well, I'll tell you because I know that I saw the first topic of your. I guess yours is not a podcast because it's
it's kind of it's kind of labeled as a YouTube show, but
okay.
The idea started as a podcast because I started listening to podcasts years ago, and I like the concept, but video format works best for this audience.
Yeah. Well, our biggest hurdle is the same one that you and a lot of other people face, and it's just simply money. We are two retired people that do this because we love to do it. And in the world of Christian broadcasting, the Christian broadcasting world is a pay-to-play world. Mm-hmm. And we want to play, but we don't want to pay.
Right.
So we're on KWHB in Tulsa, a Christian broadcasting station, and stations in 8 other stations in several states, and we don't pay. Mm-hmm. We just once in a while we'll ask, once in a while we'll wait until somebody asks us, and we'll do the show. But a lot of the television shows that are on currently on the satellite networks and everything, that can be a very expensive proposition. And what we try to do is make it look as good as we can. And Jean has music experience, I have broadcasting experience. We just try to use that experience to produce the best product that we can without spending a whole bunch of money. You described your studio in your bedroom. Well, our studio, where we do the studio segments of our show, is a room upstairs in our house where regular people would have a
media room.
Yeah, a pool table and a big screen TV. Instead of that, we have my editing computer and a little set for our show. But the set for our show, which we tried to make look like a pro-level set, when people come up here and see it, and I'll say, well, you can have your own. Just go down to Home Depot, $75, and buy the stuff. And if you know how to put it together and make it look decent, you can do something with it.
One of the things that we will not sacrifice, though, in our show is quality, and I think that's been a success factor as we have seen shows come and go, and you realize now that there's going to be quite a bit of work in it, and a lot of times people find out they don't want to put that much work into it, but we have a steady show, and we have not certain rules, but certain things. We have a certain day that we record, and certain things that have to be done for the show, and then Ken does the production work on it. So there has to be a certain amount of dedication there, because if not, you just are going to get burnt out real fast.
Yeah, that's something. When I decided I thought about doing this for a while, and I've always wanted to do. I do a podcast with some friends about video games because I'm a nerd, and I've done some video games or some podcasts about Star Wars because I'm a nerd. And then I thought, well, another one of my passions is gospel music, and there's not really a lot of podcasts being done. And I thought, well, but the problem is that a good majority of the crowd doesn't get involved in that technology side of the media. So it would have to be a video show if I wanted to do anything. And then I realized, well, I don't want it to look bad. I don't want it to look like I'm holding my phone and, I'm giving a video here and there, because, people, if they're going to keep coming back to it, it needs to be something that looks professional. And then my other big issue for me right now is time. And like you mentioned, Jean, what a very important part of people returning is the consistency of knowing when it comes out. It comes out on the same date every week or every month or however it's released. And so I would like this to be a weekly show. It's still in the growth stages to where I've put it out there that, I still have to work a full-time job, and I'm in the process of getting ready to move in the coming months. But when I get down to the base of what I want the show to be, I do want it to be a weekly show, and the content will vary between commentary pieces and interviews and whatever else. I mean, I'm still taking suggestions from people, but I definitely can understand that those would be two of my biggest hurdles, would be time and money. So,
and the money part of it, no matter what you do, because we don't charge for interviews and things like that. Just a trip to, when we used to go to Louisville to the NQC, could end up being quite expensive, even though we're getting things for the show, between the hotel and the food and the booth space and things like that. Now, recently we've had some things open up where we are able to do more interviews without it being so costly, and that's just been a great thing for us to be able to do.
Well, I enjoy it, and you two have been good friends to me over the years, and I really appreciate your just being a contribution to the community, which is what I want this show to be. I mean, it needs more of that. One of the benefits of traveling and interviewing so many artists is not only getting to sit down with them, but really getting to know them on a level that not many people do. And with that comes some pleasant surprises along the way. With just one trip to the National Quartet Convention involving over 100 interviews, I asked Ken what some of their most favorite sit-down experiences have been.
There's two categories. Mm-hmm. There's ones that have become more serious interviews, and there's ones that have become more fun interviews. And probably the one that was the most fun is we were trying to interview Karen Peck in New River. And this was, I don't know if it was the last year the NQC was in Louisville, or maybe the next to the last. The booth across from us was a guy selling suits and ties and stuff. And he was, he knew nothing about Southern Gospel, by the way, but he went to these conventions and set up his booth. Well, he became very interested once he saw the people coming to our booth for interviews. And every male singer that came to us for an interview could go across the aisle and pick out a free tie. So it was a great benefit to being on our show. But anyway, to get back to try to answer your question, we were trying to interview Karen Peck in New River. And Brian Free, I guess, was going to be next. And so he goes next door. Karen Peck had a purple dress on, so Brian Free goes next door and picks out a purple tie and goes and stands next to the camera and does his absolute best to see if he could distract Karen Peck by standing there with this ridiculous-looking purple tie and trying to get her attention. Well, finally she saw him, and things started to go to pieces at that point. And then next along, just walking down the aisle, I think, comes Ray Dean Reese, who now he wants to get in on the show, and comes up and he wants to hire Karen and Susan to be his backup singers in the Kingsmen, and they didn't really want to do that. But finally, they decided to sing a song, so they sang "Beautiful Home," and Ray sang it, and Karen and Susan did the harmony vocals. And it was really one of my favorites.
I believe that's out on YouTube.
That is on YouTube. Yeah.
Now,
you had one more. There was a serious, more serious one. You said there were two interviews that stick out in your mind.
Yeah, the ones that that we've really talked about, the nuts and bolts of Southern Gospel, there's two of them. It's Mark Trammell is one. He likes to get into that stuff, and Gerald Wolfe likes to get into that. And we've had some good interviews with those two guys.
Ken also interviewed Bill Gaither.
Yeah.
1 year. So.
Well, all three guys that know a lot about this industry.
Yeah,
what it takes. So I guess let me ask the next question that leads us right into that. Is there anybody today who you've not interviewed yet, but you're still wanting to? Or have you got to everybody?
Well, no, we haven't run out of everybody yet, but we talked about this just earlier today. And these guys are not technically Southern Gospel, but they really are the ones that got us into it. And we would really love to get at least one, or all would be wonderful, of the Statler brothers.
No, take it full circle.
Yeah.
Take it full circle, that's right.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the night that we saw them at the Warwick Musical Theater, one of Ken's former students was working at the radio station that was sponsoring the concert. So he grabbed us as we were walking in the door. He says, "Come on, we're going to have your picture taken with the Statler brothers." So I have the framed picture of Ken and me with the Statler brothers. Now we would like to take it full circle and do the interview with them.
Before wrapping up our time together, I asked Ken and Jean a couple more questions, including what aspirations they still had for gospel music today. The conversation eventually led to discussing some of the differences between what we call the golden age of gospel music and our current industry, and just what hurdles artists are facing right now.
I think we've gone beyond what the plan was originally. We would still like to reach out to more audiences in different areas. You know, there's another thing we were just talking about. In the golden days of gospel music, back in the days of the original Blackwoods and the Statesmen, there were two factors. One was actual terrestrial radio, which really barely is alive nowadays. And the other one was television. You know, the Blackwoods especially were legitimate national television stars, and local television stations produced or welcomed local programming, not infomercials, not selling items to clean your windows or whatever it is they sell. These were legitimate local entertainment programs. Or they would take the gospel singing Jubilee, and that doesn't exist anymore either. So reaching out to different areas in television now is really difficult. But on the other hand, we didn't get into this to try to get rich or to become national television stars. But we would like to reach out to more areas. But it's a slow process. But
we have a big internet following. As well as the television. There is a big internet following out there and sometimes we don't even realize that, until we're in Memphis or we're, in Pigeon Forge and somebody just walks up, "Oh, what's your show every week?" And we don't realize the impact of the internet.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think that goes along with just not realizing the impact that you two have just with all the people that you come in contact with. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was telling somebody the other day when I started my own gospel group years ago. Well, not years ago. I guess it would have been...
You're not that old.
6 years ago. But I didn't really have anything moving forward. There, we didn't have any gear. We had to come up with, everything we wanted, and nobody really knew who we were. And I had a little bit of help with promotions and stuff like that. But I remember